Hi everyone, it's Tatiana and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be talking about my Disney College Program audition experience. For those of you who don't know, I was accepted for Fall Advantage 2017 as a character performer, and even just saying that, I just can't wrap my head around it. It doesn't feel real yet. My arrival / check-in day is June 5th, and I'm counting down the days. For right now, I would just like to reminisce a little bit about my audition experience, and hopefully you guys find some of the stuff that I'm going to say helpful. So let's get to it. My audition was on March 6th, which was a Monday, so I did have to skip classes. I only had like 2 classes, so it wasn't that big of a deal. And the audition was held in New York City at Pearl Studios, so it's relatively close to me being that I'm from New Jersey and I only live like 20 minutes away from the city, 20-30 minutes away from the city depending on how I get there. On the morning of the audition, my mom, my sister, and I took a bus into the city. Prior to the audition, I had met 2 amazing girls on the Facebook pages, Danielle and Drew, so if you guys are watching this, shout out to you guys for being super amazing and awesome. So we had decided that we were going to meet in front of Starbucks, right next to Pearl Studios, which is where the audition was being held. I ended up getting there around 9:40ish, and the audition started at 10:30, so I was pretty early, which is something I do recommend just so you're within the first groups to audition. But yeah, so I met up with Drew and Danielle and we took a whole bunch of pictures and they were really nice and super cute. So then we just decided that we were going to walk our way over to the Pearl Studios. So we walked in and we went upstairs to where the auditions were going to be held. So we went into one of the dance studios and it was already filled with people. The casting director and the choreographers were also in the room just like preparing everything, and they had numbers and they were just like setting everything up. We walked into the room and we sat down in the circle that was already formed. We just went around and said our names and said if we were either in submission, progress, or accepted, and if someone was accepted they would say their role that they got offered. I also knew 3 other people at the audition that go to my school, Dom, Tori, and TK, so hi guys. It's really nice knowing someone at the audition just because it makes you feel more at ease. But if you go in there not knowing anyone, that is completely fine too. Everyone is super friendly and you can just sit down and join a group and just talk about Disney and the application and all of that fun stuff. So at around 9:50, the casting director stood up in front of the dance studio and she made herself known, and she basically said that the audition was going to be starting now. So we started earlier than we were supposed to. She had everyone who was in the room line up in a single line to receive their numbers, and this guy was just passing them out. So everyone who was in the first group picked up all of their stuff and moved next door to the bigger dance studio. And we just kind of waited a little bit for there, and the casting director came in and she had us register for the audition on like a Google document form thing. And after that she just spoke about like making sure that we knew what we were auditioning for and what really a character performer is, so that was really nice. And then she also stressed the fact that if you don't make it this time around, definitely try again. After the casting director was all done talking, she introduced the choreographer and the audition began. The choreographer taught us a really easy dance combination that went across the floor. Personally, it was easy for me being that I do have a lot of dance training. I can understand if some people don't have that much experience with dancing. It could be a little bit hard, but you know, it was literally just march, 2, 3, 4, jazz square, and like, you know, pivot turn, and then more marching jump things. Like, it was really easy. They really just want to see you smiling and just having like a grand old time. The choreographer took her time while teaching the dance. We did it a couple of times and then we started to practice it across the floor, which is what we would be doing in front of the casting director. We did that about twice before the casting director came back in, and she just stood at the end of the dance studio and we were lined up in 4 and we had to do the combination 4 times traveling across the floor towards her. So she was over here and all of us were on this side and we just had to make our way over to her. She just stood with her iPad and was just making notes and like looking at people and just jotting things down. After everyone went, we sat down and we were just waiting to hear our number and our name to be called. My number was called, meaning that I had made it past the first round and was moving on to the second round along with my friends Drew and Danielle. The cut was about 25 people, so she did cut half of the first group. So the people who were remaining took all of their stuff and moved it to a different dance studio, and we were just waiting there. We were all really excited, and we were all just like talking to each other and getting to know one another. Everyone was just basically asking the basic questions like, what's your name? How old are you? Where are you from? Is this your first time auditioning? Is this your first time applying? And yeah, so we just waited there for a while, and then maybe like an hour later, another group of people came in. So the casting director came back into the room a little bit after that, and she just said that we would have to fill out these like basic information cards, and then she would also be taking pictures of us. But then she left, and then maybe like 30 minutes later, she came back into the room with the cards that we had to fill out. So we filled them out, and she left again, and then she came back to take our pictures, and it was basically just torso up, and she just asked if we had any tattoos, and if someone did have tattoos, they would just have to take off their number and place it next to the tattoo, and she would take pictures of those. After we filled out our cards and we got our pictures taken, we were waiting there in that room for a while, and it was really hot, but it was really nice to like get to know everyone. Everyone was just kind of circulating the room and sitting with different people and getting to know one another. So it was like a really good experience, and it's really exciting to think that like all these people in this room you could possibly be working with in like the next couple of months. So that was really cool. Definitely make connections with people and get people's names and get their Instagrams. So yeah, that was pretty fun. So after a while, a new choreographer came into the room, and she introduced herself as Crystal. She really stood out to me. She was wearing like these beautiful cobalt blue leggings, and she was just super nice. She then took us to a really big dance studio, and we got our heights measured, and we weren't really allowed to see what we were measured at, just because, you know, the casting director said a lot of people flip out because sometimes they measure up, they measure down, so it's like the Disney height is kind of real, so she didn't want any of us to be like stressing out. So we just got our height measured, we left, they wrote it down, cool. After everyone was measured, we had a little bit more time just to like sit around and talk, and at this time I found out that there was around 300 people at this audition, which is just mind-blowing that 300 people showed up for this audition, and knowing how limited the spots are was kind of intimidating, so you really have to make yourself stand out against all these people. After waiting for a little bit, we were brought back into the dance studio by the choreographer, and she then taught us our animation, and our animation was to pretend to be toy makers, making a toy, and then once the choreographer yelled transform, we would literally have to transform into the toy that we were making. And the tips that were given to us was just to be really big and really clear with our decisions. So if you're cutting wood, just make sure that the movements are really big, and if you're painting something, make sure that your brush strokes are really large and really big. And Crystal, the choreographer, also said something which I thought was really cool. She said when you are performing, you're not only performing to the people that are in the front of the stage, you are performing to all of the people down Main Street, so make sure that you are big and you're waving big enough for all of those people in the back to see you as well. I just thought that was really cool. So then after we practiced the animation for a little bit, we moved on to the second dance, which was more advanced than the first dance that we learned. I thought it was really easy. I could really focus on just performing it rather than just worrying about, oh, what step comes next, you know? It just came naturally to me. So after we did that for a little bit, we were split up in groups of 6. So I was, I think, the third group that went. So when I walked into the room, the casting director was sitting in front, and we were just placed like 1, 2, 3, and then another row of 1, 2, 3. And then you did your animation once first, and then you did the dance twice, and the people that were in the back line then moved up to the front, and then the people that were in the front line moved to the back. And even if you were in the back, the choreographer still could see you, so don't even worry about that. But I do remember I messed up the first time. There was like a pirouette, and I completely forgot to do it, and I was like, great. But the second time, I made sure that I got it, and I was like, heck no, I'm gonna redeem myself. And there was this one part in the dance that at the very end, we had to look at the casting director like right in the eye, and I remember like once I hit that pose, I just stared directly into her eyes, and she just nodded and wrote something down, and I was like, oh my god, this is happening. So after we did the dance the second time, she thanked everyone for coming, and then she said that she would like me to hang around for a little bit longer just so she could see me a little bit more, and then everyone else was free to go. After that, I went to my mom, who was waiting there throughout the whole entire audition, and you know, I just told her, I was like, Mom, they need to see me more, and like I made it to the third round, and if you watch watch these videos, making it to the third round is really good, and it either means you're being considered for a character performer or a parade dancer. Then I went back to the first dance studio that we were held in, and I met like a whole bunch of other girls, and there was a lot of guys in that room that were also asked to stay behind. So we were just sitting there. At that point, one of the choreographers came in and she was just taking pictures of some of the girls, and then they left. She also took measurements of the guys, and then they were free to go. There was around 15 other girls, including myself, who just didn't even get any pictures taken yet or any type of measurements, so we were just waiting around. About an hour, I would say. So the casting director came back in after the audition was over, and she called a couple names and numbers, and she said that she would like to see them one more time. My number was included in that group, so she took me and about a couple other girls into a different dance studio. She then told us that she wanted to record us doing the dance, so that's what we did. We did the dance in height groups this time, and we did the dance, it was recorded, and then everyone else was free to go. However, she said at the very end, again after thanking us, that she would like to see number 120 something. At that point, once I heard the 1, I was like, okay, that's not me because my number is 23. So I was like walking to go get my stuff, and then she was like, wait, like what's your number? And she pointed to me, and I was like 23, and she was like, oh, I would like to see you. So I was like screaming inside. I was internally screaming. And I was like, okay, fine. So once all the dancers left the studio, it was just me, the casting director, and the choreographers. She then asked me to pin my hair back. She took a picture of me looking front and then looking to the side, and then that was pretty much it. She said I can go and thank you so much, and then I thanked her, and on my way out I thanked all the choreographers as well. So honestly, my audition was very successful, and out of the whole 300 people that showed up, I was the last person to leave, which is it's crazy. So, you know, I was really hoping for some good news, and I was really confident with how my audition went. So yeah, that was pretty much it. I waited within 2 weeks to hear back. I got my acceptance on March 23rd, early in the morning when I least expected it. I will be making a separate video about my application process and how long I had to wait, and also about my acceptance and my role. So I'm extremely excited and super blessed for this opportunity. I do have a couple tips for those who are thinking about attending a character audition for Disney. I know when I was watching these videos before my audition, I was really concerned and kept questioning like what I should wear. So being that I am a dancer, I just wore what I was comfortable with. I wore a leotard. It was a really hot pink leotard, and it had like mesh in the front and then like a mesh back. And then I had just like black shorts and tights underneath it, and then I had beige jazz shoes as well. Then there was like a mix of like people that were wearing leotards, and then another mix of people who were wearing just like athletic wear and sneakers. And then, you know, as far as hair and makeup goes, some people had like no makeup on and they were just completely natural. I personally put my makeup on just because I know I feel more confident that way. And also with hair, a lot of people had it up in either buns or ponytails with like little poofs in the front. I had it down and like really curly with like the fronts pinned back. So that was that. I mean, everyone was just unique in their own way, so definitely make sure that when you go, try to stand out. Wear a bright colored shirt, wear a bright colored leotard, don't just wear black. You know, do that. Definitely get there early so you're within the first group. While you are performing and auditioning for the casting director, make sure you just push through and just show that you're really trying, and just smile away and just be really big and animated with all of your choices. Sorry if the angle's a little bit different. My camera just ran out of space, so I had to go delete some things. But anyway, like I was saying, as far as tips go, it is extremely important to bring enough water and snacks to last the whole entire day. My audition lasted around 7 hours. Just anticipate to stay there for a really long time because you honestly never know. So just make sure you have enough snacks. I brought like a little container of grapes, and that was gone within like the first 3 hours of the audition. And then after that, like, I had a granola bar, ate that, and like 1, 2, 3, that was done. And then I was pretty much starving for the rest of the day until my mom brought me a slice of pizza. Just make sure that you are definitely well prepared for a really long day. So with all of that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!